meet Coach when we were Team Maryland. So I joined the Team Maryland national team coaching staff, and there was just this guy working real hard all the time over in the corner, and I'd be like, "Who's this guy?" I got to meet him, and it's Chris Brown. He won a world title that year, right? And focused a lot in freestyle. So I'm going to let Coach kind of, tell you a little bit about himself. And then from there, Coach, what we'll do is we'll just open it up, let the kids ask you some questions, and see what we get.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, before I get started, if you would just kind of give me a little idea of the ages and grades of the kids who we have online that I'm kind of gear,
Yep.
kind of have an idea of what I want to talk about, but just, who do we have that's listening today?
Coach,
Okay, Coach.
The majority of the kids looking out here today are probably in between, I would say, 4th and 8th grade. A few a little younger than that, but that's where the majority lies, between older elementary and middle school age, Coach.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll try to keep it geared to that level. First of all, hopefully all of you guys are doing well at home. I realize that we're quarantined, but for all you guys that are home and all you wrestlers that are at home, I want to tell you this: you are safe at home. So enjoy this time with your family, with your brothers and sisters, and certainly, just enjoy that time. We're blessed to be able to have a home and to have good food, and so take care of each other. All right. My story, as Coach Sean told you, we met in Maryland, but I'm going to go back to just about you guys, a little bit older than when you guys started. I was a freshman in high school when I started wrestling. Unlike you guys that are getting a chance to start as a junior high, probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. I didn't start until I was in 9th grade. And even then it was by accident. I wanted to be a football player, and I went out for football in my freshman year in high school. And I probably weighed about 112 pounds, 115 pounds, maybe, with my uniform on. And we had an A team and we had a B team for football, freshman A and freshman B. Well, I was on the freshman B team, and I was the backup fullback on the freshman B team. So I kind of sucked, okay? But I worked hard. I showed up, I listened to the coach. They said, you get here on time. You're the first one in the weight room. You're the last one to leave. So I would get there early and I would leave late, and just, really pay attention to what the coaches told me. Well, one of the guys that was our trainer was also the wrestling coach, and he basically kind of helped me get on the team by helping me get a physical. So I thought I'd give wrestling a try after football season was over. And I really liked it. I wasn't fantastic. My freshman year, I wasn't a varsity guy, but, it was JV. I think I won like maybe 4 or 5 matches on JV, but I never got pinned. And wrestling stuck with me. So after that, I ended up continuing to wrestle through high school all 4 years. Never quite made it to state. I was pretty close, but had some pretty successful, worked really hard. I was our captain of our team, our co-captain our senior year, led her all 3 years, the next 3 years. And went to the Air Force Academy after that, and wasn't recruited to wrestle, but I was a walk-on, and actually ended up winning 3 varsity letters in college as a walk-on at my weight class, and was our leading pinner my senior years, Division I school, and missed by a match making it to nationals my senior year. So I always had that wrestling itch that's in you. You guys know that. You're young. You're in 4th, 5th, 6th grades, and you can't wait to get back on the mat, probably. I think I still had that fire inside of me even after I graduated from the academy. So I started wrestling. I picked up freestyle and Greco. Actually, freestyle, my first match was at the Rocky Mountain AAU Open when I was in college, and won that, and got a taste of the international styles, and thought, well, that's how you make it to the Olympics, because as you know, freestyle and Greco is what they do in the Olympics. And finished the academy and started wrestling for the All Air Force team, and won the All Air Force tournament a few times, actually about 12 times in freestyle and Greco, and started wrestling, concentrating a little bit more on Greco-Roman, and actually made it to the U.S. National Championships and was runner-up there 1 year, and made it to the final Olympic trials, and finished 7th there. They only take, as you well know, only number 1 goes in wrestling. But I had a really good career in the amateur level, and kind of stepped back a little bit, and got married and had kids, and Then I wanted to get back in wrestling again before my kids started wrestling. So I started wrestling in what was called the veterans, which was age 35 and older, and ended up winning the U.S. championships a few times, and then ended up going to worlds where it's just like the world championships and everything else. It's folks from all over the world, from Russia, Germany, Italy, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, you name it. And they compete in wrestling just like they do in all the other sports. And my story for you guys, and really what I want to leave you with is sort of who I am, is that I actually did it for 10 years, but my first 5 years, the first year I won a bronze medal. The next year I won a bronze medal. Next year I won a silver medal. Then I won a bronze, then I won a bronze. Okay, 5 years in a row that I was not, it's pretty good. You were third best in the country, or in the world, second best in the world, with 5 times. But I never gave up. And that's my message to you guys, because if you never, 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 never give up, that's 5 nevers. Say that to yourself. Never, 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 never give up. Because the 6th time that I went, I won gold in Greco-Roman, and I won a bronze medal in freestyle. Had I quit before then, I would have never been a world champion. And I continued to wrestle after that and won the world championships again. So I have 2 world championships in Greco-Roman wrestling, 8 medals, 9 medals, I think, overall at the world level, a bunch of stop signs from both the senior level and the veterans level in Greco-Roman wrestling. So I give you that message to show you where I started, and you guys already have a leg up on me. You would beat me in high school right now, okay? Because I started in high school on the second team as the backup quarterback on the backup team. My senior year in high school, I was actually the quarterback of the football team, and the starting quarterback and the captain of our wrestling team. So that growth through each of those years came with one thing: hard work, listening to what my coaches said, okay, being a good student, listening to what my parents said, all the little things in life that are going to make you better. So that's kind of my story, and I'm sticking to that. And I just want to leave you with that, to work hard and never, 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 never give up.
Coach, I'm going to start this off because listening to you, one direct question came to me, and these guys all started at a young age. They started younger than even I was, a little before you. I was in middle school. It seems like you got better and you peaked later on in the veterans division. Obviously, that was the highlight of your career. When you got bronze or you got silver those 5 years in a row, what motivated you to keep going? How did you mentally, I guess, what was the mental things you were telling yourself that
Sure.
you can do it? Because a lot of people after 4 or 5 chances, they're going to give up. They're going to walk away. They're going to go on with life. What made you keep going mentally? What were you telling yourself, I guess?
Well, I think that drive actually started the first time that I went to nationals, the U.S. nationals, and they started handing out stop signs. I know you guys aren't familiar with stop signs yet, but there's a little stop sign that you get when you go to the national tournaments. Actually, the youth, the cadets, and the juniors have that in theirs. And the first time I went, I got a little stop sign. I looked across the room and I saw the guys with this bigger stop sign that they were getting. I was like, wow, I really want one of those. So I went to World, and at Worlds, just like in the Olympics, they have the winner stand, just like we have in your youth tournaments, and just like you have in your youth states, where they have the third place, 2 third places. So we'll stand on one side, then the second place guy stands on the next side, and then the champion stands on the top. And the guy that's standing on the top of the podium, they play his national anthem just like they do in the Olympics. So every time that I stood on the podium in third or second place, I had to listen to the Russian national anthem or the Serbian national anthem. And each time that I came home, and my crew of guys that I worked out with, college guys, high school guys, my own sons, older guys, I always said, I'm not quitting until I can hear our national anthem played with me on the top of the podium in a foreign country, on foreign soil.
Yeah, that's awesome. Coach Sean, did you want to ask one?
Yeah, Coach. So you had the motivation, right? The desire to hear your national anthem up top. And once you achieve that, how do you motivate yourself to move forward to do it again, right? To repeat.
Sure. I think you set a goal. You know, it was you want that feeling again. Um, it was to hear our national anthem the first time. You know, made me realize that wow. You know, I still felt like I had throws in me. I still felt like I wanted to train. I still felt like it was so motivating for my team, my training team, for my high school that I coached, for my Maryland national team members that I coached, to know that okay, I did this once. I kind of figured out the secret, you know, and there really is no secret. You
Right.
just work hard and you keep getting better and you keep getting better. And I think what for me kept me motivated was the fact that even though I became a world champion, I realized that I didn't know everything that I needed to know yet. And I hadn't had my best performance and I was still a world champion. So that drove me to continue to, can I do this a second time? Can I do this a third time? You know, can I do something that no one else has ever done? So I think each time you keep setting those goals for yourself, it says, okay, have I reached that perfection in my sport? Have I wrestled my best match? Have I wrestled my best tournament? And my answer was always no. And I felt like I could keep continuing to do better and better and improve.
Beautiful.
Anthony Zaransky, you got your hand up. Go ahead, buddy.
What was your favorite throw in Greco?
Is it Anthony?
Yes.
Hi, Anthony. My favorite
Okay.
throw is I actually have a lateral drop that I learned in college that I have done all over the world and no one can stop it.
That's probably my favorite one.
That's a good one. I have a nice setup. I don't know if I showed that to Coach Sean or not. Maybe next time I see him, I'll have to show him a little secret of how I use it. But I set it up with a little, as you know, you have it over and under. I do a little tug with my right arm, that underhook arm. Do a little tug so that they think you're pulling to the right, and then you come back to the other direction.
So, guys, real quick story. You guys met Christian. So we had Christian and Ricky on, coach. And so Christian was actually scared to wrestle Greco, what would have been his freshman year. And he didn't wrestle Greco State, but we went to Fargo, and him and Coach Brown getting after it in the corner a little bit. And, you know, Coach Brown's helping him out here and there. And we get to Fargo, and he's just throwing everybody. And this is a kid that he wouldn't shoot. He wouldn't do none of that. He just started throwing everybody. And that exact setup that Coach is talking about, that's his money. That's his go-to right there. That underhook side, step pull, and then he goes. So go ahead, Ryder. Go ahead and ask your question.
Why do they only do Greco and freestyle wrestling in the Olympics?
Hi, Ryder. Good question. Well, you know, the United States is not the oldest country in the world. Other countries will have specific wrestling styles. You know, you wrestle probably what we call folk style here in the United States, or scholastic style, like what we wrestle in school. But the other countries, long before we were wrestling in the United States, like in some of the first Olympics, they wrestled in an upper body style, which is the Greco-Roman style. And freestyle was kind of what is done by other countries, the Russian bloc countries, the European countries. So it's older than our folk style, if you will. You know, the kids in Russia, they don't learn a switch. They don't learn a stand up. You know, they're learning throws. They're learning, gut wrenches. They're learning gut defense while we're learning, you know, our kids are, that's why we're kind of, you know, we're a little bit behind. I know you guys have an opportunity over the spring and summer to start learning freestyle and Greco, but those kids don't have to do stand-ups and they don't have to do switches. And it sort of gives them a little advantage. But I think we're catching just because of programs like yours where you get to learn. Do you know how to do a gut wrench, Ryder? See, I didn't learn how to do a gut wrench until my good gut wrench didn't come until about 2 years after college. So that will help you. Gut defense wins matches too.
Trayvon, go ahead, buddy.
How was it like wrestling, like in your first time going to the Olympics? How was it?
Hi, Trayvon.
How did you feel?
Good question, Trayvon. You know, it doesn't matter what level you wrestle, you still have the same butterflies. I'll bet you every time you wrestle, before you get on the mat, you have something inside of you that's kind of like little butterflies that come up, and you kind of jumping around and trying to get that nervous energy out of you. I would do the same thing. I had my music, I had my headset in, I'd have my playlist that I would listen to, but I'd feel those butterflies, Trayvon, just like you do, just like I did in high school, just like I did in college, just like I did, when I was younger before the Olympic trials. And even as an older guy, I was 50 when I went to the world championships in the veterans division, and I still felt the same butterflies. But you know what butterflies are? That's just the nervous energy in your body telling you that you're ready to compete. And in my mind, I would always believe that as soon as I stepped on the mat, and I kind of made it a ritual, that I kind of hopped on the mat, and when I jumped on the mat, the butterflies would just spring off, and I was ready to battle, Trayvon. So don't let the butterflies get to you. It's okay to have butterflies. Just don't take them out to the starting line. Come up with a routine that says, okay, when I step on the mat, or when I shake that guy's hand, or when I take my warm-up off, those butterflies are coming off with me. So I never lost the butterflies. I think even today, if I were to step on a mat and had a competition, they'd still be there. But as soon as I step on, boom, butterflies are dropping off, and I'm ready to battle.
Coach, I'm gonna ask you one again. I'm
Sure.
intrigued by this. It sounds like you coached high school. You've coached at the high school level. You probably coached at the middle school level, so forth. Greco obviously is one of those that it's sometimes hard to get kids. That's something they don't do a lot. What do you think the biggest advantage or thing that Greco teaches you that these kids could learn by trying Greco, by doing Greco if they're a little hesitant? What are the benefits of Greco that could help their folk style wrestling?
Sure. Just real quick background, just to let you guys know, I've coached. My first coaching duties was as an assistant coach at the Air Force Academy. So I coached at the high school level for a year. I coached the high school. After that, then I coached when my kids were born. I coached the beginner youth league, traveled them up to went with them when they were on a travel team, and all the way up through including our freestyle and Greco team. And I've coached our world team, the veterans team as well, and been at several USA wrestling camps and things like that. So I've kind of seen it through the whole spectrum of beginning 4, 5, 6-year-olds all the way up through, Olympic trial, national level guys, college guys, all the way up through, the veteran guys. So I think the common denominator for each of the different styles, and I've wrestled freestyle, Greco, folk style, it's all just wrestling. And I think that's the message that we have to get to our kids. We put this label on it and say that it's freestyle, or it's Greco, or it's folk style. I'll have practices with my youth team and say, hey, tonight we're doing upper body moves. By a show of hands, and coach can see you guys, I can't see that. How many of you guys know a headlock? That's a Greco move, okay? How many of you guys know a bear hug? That's a Greco move. How many of you can do an arm spin? That's a Greco move. How many of you guys know a front headlock? When you snap his head down and bring him to a front headlock, that's a Greco-Roman move. That's an upper body move. So I think the value to your specific question is that in understanding that I've got a bag of tools and some resources that say I can attack this guy from his head down to his ankle pick, I've just added more tools in my toolbox. Another advantage is that what happens if I'm in a match and I need a go-to move? I'm down by 4 points and there's 30 seconds left in the match. A takedown is not going to help me. And it's going to cut it by 2, but this guy's been good on the bottom. He's gotten away every single time. I need a feet to back move. What's my feet to back move? Maybe a combination setup with my upper body and my underhook allows me to attack that leg, or to trip, provide a trip and take him to his back. So it's all wrestling, and it all just adds to your bag of tools. It says, now I'm a complete wrestler from the top of his head to the crown of his head to the sole of his feet, that I can attack this person and I can score.
Awesome. Great.
Coach, I want to ask one real quick. Coach, what would your best advice be to help them to learn to start throwing or back arching, right? Getting that back arch started. What would you recommend there?
Sure. I think, well, first of all, it's going to be up to you all as coaches to have a couple of good crash pads, because it's not natural. You got to have a crash pad, and I don't care how you try to get people comfortable throwing backwards. It's just not a natural thing to do. When I was on the All Air Force team, when I learned to throw, we started with crash pads, and we would line up, and we'd have the team line up, and your lightweights and heavyweights, and you would just lock up belly to belly, and you would just throw, and you would throw. Our morning hour and a half practice would be all throwing, just throwing on the crash pad. So once you get comfortable with that, there are drills that you can do, whether you're doing, the back arches on the
Right.
wall where you're holding. A lot of people try to have you do the, you'll hold hands and just do the one hand. I'd rather do two hands where you're locking in the monkey grip with your partner, and you have one leg forward and let the guy step to that leg and arch back so that you've got a little bit more support. With that one arm, the older kids can do that, but I think as you're starting at a younger age, using those two hands and the monkey grip, one knee, one leg forward, and he steps up to that leg and pops his hip on that leg and arches back, and the partner helps him come back up. If you can picture what I think we probably did that with Team Maryland.
Yeah.
And then you just become comfortable with that, realizing that if you throw a person correctly, they don't get hurt. People get hurt because they're not comfortable doing it, or they don't know how to fall. So yeah, those would be my steps in terms of just being comfortable building those muscles. One guy's on his hands and knees, and the other guy's just doing kind of back arches over that person to feel comfortable. From a headstand, you're just kind of going back and forth. Just having the core strength. It does take core strength and good hip hop.
Beautiful.
Gunner, I've seen your hand up for a minute. Go ahead, buddy.
So if you were to choose one move for freestyle, what would it be?
Hi, Gunner. I think if I could only do one move in freestyle, it would have to be a single leg takedown. Okay. I think at every level, whether it's your youth level, your high school level, the college level, international level, a single leg takedown is the move that is, it's high percentage. It's the move. It's the go-to move. It's your most basic move. Now, having said that, you can set that up from 1,000 different ways. Okay. Maybe I set it up with a head tap. Maybe I set it up from my underhook. Maybe I set that up from my arm drag. But being able to attack someone's leg in wrestling is the basic takedown that you're going to need to be successful in any sport. Now, I always told my team that I used the phrase or the term that, pins will win matches, takedowns will win championships. You've heard the phrase in football where they say, offense wins games and defense wins championships. It's kind of like that in wrestling. I think, you go out and you headlock a guy, or you body lock a guy, or you throw a guy to his back. He was probably a fish. Okay, you're going to get some of those guys, and maybe you can throw a good guy too every now and then. But the really good guys, you're going to need a good single leg takedown. Takedowns win championships. Okay, and you've got to have a takedown. And that leg attack to the left, to the right, whether it's a high single, whether it's a low single, sweep single, a high crotch, I've got to be able to get to his leg, and I've got to be able to score from there in order to win the good, tight championship matches. What's your best What's your best takedown?
Gunner, what's your best takedown, buddy?
Probably a single leg.
Okay. Can you do it to the right and the left side?
Yes.
Okay. Can you do it high and low?
Yes.
All right. Well, keep working on that. That'll take you a long, long way. Good job.
Hayden, go ahead, buddy.
Which do you like to wrestle more, freestyle or Greco, and why?
Hi, Hayden. How are you today? I like that hat, buddy.
Thanks.
Hayden, my favorite has to be Greco, and the why is that I think I'm taller and I've got long legs, and it seems like guys were always able to get in on my legs in freestyle. But Greco-Roman actually helped me to become a better freestyler because I could stop guys from getting in on my legs by catching them with an underhook or tying up their hands or arm dragging and keeping them off my legs. So I like Greco just because I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable with it, and I've done it more, but it's also helped my freestyle to get better. So do you have a favorite style, Hayden?
What's your favorite, buddy?
My favorite's Greco because I like throwing.
Nice. What's your favorite throw?
Mm, probably a gut wrench.
Okay. Gut wrench, you take them down and gut wrench them, that'll win a match. I like that. Well, keep on practicing Greco because a lot of kids don't like Greco and won't continue to get better in Greco. So I think if you can learn how to do a good gut wrench and learn how to have good inside control. And you know what? I used to tell them when I taught my beginner guys about Greco, I'm going to tilt my camera down here a little bit. I would tell them to take some super glue and glue it right here, glue it right here, put those elbows down. And they never left from there. That was my position. I can still lock around your waist. I can still underhook you. I can still snap your head down by not letting you get inside of those armpits. If I'm going to extend for just a minute, okay, lots of bad things can happen. And I'll tell you one quick story. I was at the U.S. Championships, and I was wrestling this Russian guy. I see your voice. I was wrestling this Russian guy and was winning. And I know that he had an arm spin, and I went from here to here with about 15 seconds left in the match, and he caught me in an arm spin, and I lost the match. But I ended up beating him at the World Championships that year to be a world champion. So it was a lesson learned and worth learning. So keep those elbows in, hips in.
Coach, would you say that your world championship match, your finals match, what would be the most memorable match? Is it the world championships? Is it a loss you took prior to that? Is it younger, back when you were in high school? If you had to pick one match and you said, that's probably the most memorable match of my life, was it winning the world championships or was it something else?
Wow. Most memorable. Well, I think the example that I just told you guys was probably the one that sits with me the most as perhaps my biggest growth, because that year I had moved up in weight class and had lifted and really trained hard to win the U.S. championship and let that be my springboard to win the world championship. And I had gone through and had pinned everyone at the nationals in Las Vegas. And I had this little short, kind of underestimated, a little short, hairy, barrel-chested guy from Russia. And, it was a tight match. I mean, he was a good guy. And it was really a close match, like I said, until the last 10 seconds of the match. It was a 6-minute match or a 4-minute match. And it was, I beat him for 95% of the match. And I made a mistake at the end of the match. And I think that learning that lesson, and my message to you all as wrestlers, is that you cannot take your foot off the gas pedal. You cannot relax in a match. You can't coast in a match. You can't take a guy for granted or a girl for granted in a match, because, it's as we all know, if there's time on the clock, there's time to score. There's still time to win. And for me, that was a lesson that carried me into my training the next 4 months until I went to Worlds, which then, or my first Worlds. Each of those matches were definitely memorable because they were, people from other countries that were good, and that I definitely remember. But that was the one that I learned the most from. I think, you learn from your losses, and that's another lesson I want you guys to learn. That sometimes if you go out and you lock up a guy and throw him and pin him, or you go in and you take him down with a good single leg and put him in a cradle or put a half Nelson and pin him, you might not learn very much from that match, other than, okay, my single works, okay, my headlock works, okay, my body lock works, my arm throw works. But if you go out and you have a battle with someone and you're battling and you make a mistake, or you don't win that match, or you lose a tight match, those are the things that you take away in wrestling that allows you and that should fuel you to be able to say, okay, what can I do different? Coach, I did this in the match and it didn't quite work. How can I improve that? And that's really why we wrestle, so that we continue to get better each time we step on the match. I'm willing to bet you that Coach Parrish and Coach Sean and Coach Ryan and Coach Sean have never told you guys to go out there and their mantra is not to just win. But I'm willing to bet that they've told you guys to give them your best effort. There's a difference. And if they haven't been telling you that, I'm going to tell them to tell you that. You know, I'm never going to tell you guys to go win. I want to see your best effort. And if you give me your best effort, you're going to win. Or if you give me your best effort and it's not enough to win this time, guess what? We're going to go back in the wrestling room. We're going to figure out, you know, where were your hips? Where was your hand? Where was your head? You know, was your head in the right position? Was it down? Did you penetrate deep enough? You know, was your lock in there? Did you have your hands locked the correct way? You know,
Very
your
much,
best
Coach.
effort. Your best effort. That's what we want.
Absolutely. Anthony Toon, go ahead, buddy. I unmuted you. Go ahead and ask.
My dad wants to know what you were thinking about before your match, and I want to know what did you do before your match to get ready?
Which
Like
match, Anthony? Before his World
Any
Championship match? Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Anthony. Hi, Dad. Probably the same thing that you do, Anthony. Before a match, I think you know, you guys, you're watching your screen to see when your name comes up, and it wasn't just like that. Whether I was in Las Vegas, or whether I was in Serbia, or whether I was in Russia, or whether I was in Germany, you know, we would look up on the board and we would see, you know, we were either deep, we called deep in the hole, or deep in the hole, or on deck, or you know, they march you out on the tunnel and then you're coming up. So when I start, just like every tournament, you know, you come in the morning or the afternoon and you get a good warm up. You want to make sure that you break a sweat. So I definitely want to make sure that I broke a sweat before I step out onto the mat. You know, whether it was the morning session or the afternoon session, I'm going to go through my routine again and make sure my body was warmed up and ready to go. In my mind, what I would think about was, why was I going to win this match? Okay. I tried to remove the doubt. You know, I don't know if any of you guys have seen or heard the story about the predator versus the prey. You know, that as a predator, you know, you're thinking that you want to go out and attack, you know. So in my mind, I thought about all the things that made me believe that I was the predator. You know, I thought about the miles that I had run, or the sprints that I had run, how I climbed the ropes and the push-ups that I had done and the weights that I had lifted and the training that I had done with my partners, and how I left practice exhausted all the time. And now it was time for me to cash in on what I had done prior to that match. So when you walk into that match, there was a confidence about what I was about to do, you know, not a fear, but just a confidence. I still had those butterflies, okay, but I was confident knowing that there was nothing else I could do coming into this tournament. You know, I trained the way that I was supposed to. I ran my sprints hard. You know, I even did some extra sprints after my teammates had left, and jumped rope and did my pull-ups and did my pull-ups, push-ups, and climbed the rope and all the things that I did. So those are the things that I think should go through your mind that says, you know, I've done this single leg 1,000 times, 5,000 times. That's my move. That lat drop, that's my move. Okay. This is my mat. This is my tournament. So those are the things that would go through my head before I wrestled. You're muted, Ryan.
Dron, did you have one? You gotta unmute yourself. Thanks, Dron. There you go.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about wrestling?
Hi, Jerron. Well, I'm going to ask you first. What's your favorite part about wrestling?
Got it, Dron? There it is. Go ahead. Repeat that, Dron. We didn't hear you, buddy.
The challenge.
The challenge? Huh, okay. I like that. Well, I think for me, my favorite part of wrestling, in addition to the competition, is all of the great people that I've gotten a chance to meet and learn. I've loved meeting kids like yourself that are beginning wrestling and just starting wrestling. I love coaching high school kids and seeing young men and young women learn to believe in themselves and get better each time they step on the mat. I've loved being at the senior level and being part of our national teams that we've trained and gone on and competed in Olympic and World Games. And then I've loved being part of the veterans, the older guys, the 35 to 60-year-olds that still have the fire in them that says they want to compete. Just like you said, the challenge of being able to wrestle, even for these guys that are 40, 50, and 60 years old, they push their bodies to the point that says, this is my sport and I know I can be better. So I think the one thing that keeps me going, and obviously every wrestler going, is that we can always get better. We can always improve, Deron. So keep that fire in you.
Awesome. Brady Miller, I got you unmuted. Go ahead, buddy.
Have you had that thought that like if you like don't want to like go to practice, and what made you like want to go if you like didn't?
Sure. Good question, Brady. You know, we all have those voices out there that say, you know, I'm tired today. I don't feel good today. I'm not, I want to go play with my friends. I want to sit home and play on the Xbox. I'm sleepy. You know what would motivate me, Brady? I would think in my head that, what is my opponent doing today? Is he sleeping? Is he resting? Is he playing Xbox? Is he taking a day off? And I would always push myself to think that, you know, once I got there and actually started practice, I would feel better. You know, I felt better about not missing it. You know, your body will tell you if you're physically hurt or drained, you know, maybe your body's telling you that you need that recovery day. But typically for you guys being youngsters, you know, your recovery is a lot faster than say an older person would be, you know. Coach Sean and I, if we were to go roll around a little bit for, you know, 2 hours of practice, we might need it. We might need a day to kind of recover a little bit. But well, he might need a half a day. I would need a day, maybe 2 days. But
at least a day, Coach.
at least a day. But for you guys, you know, that voice that you hear telling you, you know, I don't want to go to practice today. You know, I'm tired. I want to go ride my bike. Just ask yourself the question, what do you think your opponent is doing today? Okay. Or I would even picture myself saying, you know, my opponent is wrestling today. My opponent is doing, you know, I do 100 push-ups at the end of practice. And I think, well, my opponent's doing 110. So I would add some on. Or, you know, he's climbing the ropes twice. I try to do it 3 times. So always put that person, you know, maybe it's your nemesis that you lost to last year at the state finals, or you lost to at the tournament last week, and push yourself to that point that says, you know, I'm going to go to practice and I'm going to have a good practice and I'm going to get better. The more you're on the mat, whether that's practice, a tournament, a dual meet, the better you get.
Good question, Brady. I actually like that question. Case Bridge, I saw your hand, buddy. Go ahead. You're unmuted. Go ahead. Case, I can't hear you. You're not on mute. Is your audio on? Yeah, I can't hear you, but I'm going to skip past you. See if your computer audio is on because you're not muted. So work on that. Timmy, why don't you ask the next question for us while Case is figuring that out.
What was like the hardest thing for you to get good at in wrestling?
Hi, Timmy. That's a tough question. The hardest thing in wrestling in general, probably keeping a good stance initially. I think if I had to pick some periods of my wrestling, I would say during like high school and college, it was keeping a good stance and not coming out of my stance. I think once I started wrestling freestyle, it was being able to protect my legs. And then once I got better in Greco, it was maintaining a good position. Okay. It's you know, it's just not natural to stay hunched over and keep your elbows in. But once I learned that and was able to master that, just positions, you know, I think we do a drill now in our practices in my high school called stance and motion. You know, we do that every practice, and it's something that you guys should incorporate even as a warm up. You know, you're just doing stance and motion where you're staying in your stance, you're down blocking, you're sprawling, you're down blocking circle, you're sprawling in circle, you're shooting. Okay, that keeps you in your stance. If you can't touch the mat from your stance and your position in freestyle, you're too high. You know, if you're in a Greco position and you let your arms get too far extended, you're going to get thrown. So I think that's the one key. Hi, Mom. That's the one key, I think, in all of the styles is to have good position, Timmy. Oh, Timmy's got to go. Nope, you're still there. That makes sense? Position. That's the one thing that I would master above everything else. Not getting out of position.
Vitally important no matter what style you're in.
Absolutely.
Can you hear
Landon,
me?
you've had your okay, go ahead. I can hear you now.
Okay.
Landon, you can go after Case.
So like if
like the Russian guy that you lost to, what do you have to do to like overcome and beat them? Like,
Good question, Case. And it actually goes right back to the answer that I just gave. Was it Timmy? To Timmy?
Yeah. You just answered Timmy. Yep.
Yep. It goes back to that same question. Is it Case? Was to not get out of position. I wrestled him again at the World Championships, and I knew that he had an arm throw. So this time when I wrestled him, I was aggressive. I scored my points, and I stayed in great position. I never gave him my arm, and the whole match, he kept trying to attack this arm, and get me out of position. And I kept the arm back. And I attacked his other side. So that was, each time you wrestle someone, you'll kind of figure out as you guys, you're starting now, you might see some kids that are in your 6th grade, 7th grade class that you're going to see again in 8th grade, that you're going to see all through high school. You'll see them at the counties, you'll see them at states. You might even see them at nationals, and you're going to learn that, how to wrestle your best match against them. So your specific question, I just stayed in it. I kept a good and better position against him at Worlds than I did at, I wrestled an entire 6-minute match at Worlds rather than, making a mistake with 30 seconds left in the match as well.
Great answer. Landon, you've had that hand up for a while. Go ahead, buddy. What do you got?
What moves do you use a lot in freestyle?
Hi, Landon. Good question. Freestyle is just like folk style. You need a good takedown. So I like to, because I'm a good Greco guy, I like to tie up the hands. So I'll use an arm drag, or I'll use an underhook to set up my leg attacks. I like to do trips from an upper body tie up. I tell my guys when we train, I love using upper body setups to get to my lower body attacks. So for me in freestyle, if I can tie up your wrist and do an arm drag to get to a single, and then once I get you down, I love gut wrenches. I can gut you or turn you from there, but I'll use an upper body setup, and typically that's my arm drag more than anything else to attack, to set up the legs or to get to the body. So upper body setups to get to my lower body attacks. Make sense? All right.
Sean, you got one?
How long did it take for you to get the hang to wrestling, get your first win?
My first win ever, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get really good.
Yeah. I don't know that getting really good was ever a point that I tried to get to. It was just that I wanted to keep getting better. And when I started as a freshman in high school, like I said, I was on the junior varsity team, and we had a varsity, we had a junior varsity. I think we had a freshman team, but I didn't make the freshman team. I was on the the scrubs. We were on the junior varsity, and you keep working and you keep learning. And I got better to the point that I was varsity my sophomore and junior and senior year. I went to the Air Force Academy in college. I didn't make varsity my freshman year, but I made varsity my sophomore, junior, and senior year. So I think each of those kind of showed that by working hard, Sean, you just keep getting better, whether it's your youth team now or whether it's doing something over the summer to get better, whether it's, you guys are all, and I'll tell this, I'm sure your coaches have told you guys this, you're all quarantined at home right now. How many of you have a chart on the wall that says how many push-ups you're doing today, how many pull-ups you're doing today, how many sit-ups can I do today, how many air squats can I do, how many box jumps? And you should challenge yourself and say that, okay, during the quarantine, I'm going to total 10,000 of these, whatever they are, total. I challenge you guys, Sean and everybody else that's listening, get you a big piece of paper or a what's it called? Your things that do your science projects on, the big
poster board.
Poster board. There you go. And right on there, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, squats. I don't know if your coaches have already told you to do that. Whatever you're gonna want to come up with. And every day that you go through, you do 10 push-ups, write down 10, 15 more, 20 more. And at the end of the day, you look at that and say, wow, I did 75 push-ups today. and then see how many you do the next day, and keep adding. And then how many squats did you do, air squats, and how many pull-ups did you do? And then you look on today. Today is Monday. Say, okay, Monday I add up everything that I did, and I total 627 of something that I did. And you keep adding those up, and before you know it, you'll have 10,000. And you guys come back at the end of this quarantine, and you look at Coach, and you're like, Coach, look at that. That's from all the push-ups that I did and all the pull-ups. And then you pull up your shirt, and you're looking at a little six-pack instead of a little round gut. Because I know how many of you guys are, maybe by show of hands, I can't see, how many of you guys are eating pretty good during quarantine? Some pretty good quarantine meals and snacks. Yeah, I am too. So make that chart. Do 10,000 of something over before you're back in school, before you're back on the mat again. And let your coaches know, Coach, I'm up to 625. Coach, I'm at 1,000. Coach, I'm at 2,025. Push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, air squats.
That's awesome. Coach, I got a question. I'll mix in one and we'll get a couple more from the boys. How many different countries have you wrestled in, and which country outside of the U.S., or a rough guess, and outside of the U.S., what was your favorite cultural experience, in a different country?
I've been to, let's see, I've wrestled in 10 world championships and coached in another two more years. And each of those, I went back to some of them twice. So I'd say probably a total of 8 different countries. Some of them I went back to twice. I have, and I love the experience of being able to leave the United States and see what's out there in the world. What you realize by flying overseas is that it's really a small world. In a matter of 8 to 12 hours, you can be on the other side of the world and be in a country and experiencing their culture, their food, their customs, their history. Our country is young by stretch of the imagination. I mean, we're what, 200, just over 200 years old. And some of these countries are thousands of years old, and you see some of their structures and their buildings and their castles and their churches that are, 1,000 years old, 500 years old, that they're crumbling, but some of them are still standing, that, builders built over the course of 2 or 3 generations, and they built this beautiful structure. I love I didn't wrestle in Italy, but I went to Italy when I was in the Air Force on the Inspector General team. And I just love the culture and the buildings and chapels. Obviously, Greece was my favorite place to visit, just because it's the birthplace of wrestling, and I get a chance to see, certainly where, some of the first matches were wrestled, and to see the Parthenon and some of the Greek architecture and the food, certainly after weigh-in, so able to enjoy some of the food. So I think just the idea of, and then too, to realize, and I think hopefully you guys will get a chance to do this, whether it's at the schoolboy level or the cadet level or junior level, to go overseas and meet people that are doing the same thing that you're doing. Guys just like your age, they're going to school, they're going to practice, they're, maybe they're having Zoom meetings and talking about in Russian about, what they're going to do when they get back on the mats, but they're doing the same thing that you're doing. And you go over there and you meet them and you trade a shirt or you trade a singlet, or they want to buy your shoes, and you form a friendship. I've got right now, I probably have, probably 20 or so people, maybe more, around the world that I speak to on Facebook or through Instagram. I have to use Google Translate, because I don't speak Russian, or I don't speak Iranian or Farsi. And it's so funny because we're typing in Google Translate, and we'll cut and paste, and we'll answer back, and we have a real good conversation going. And then when we see each other, it's more difficult to communicate. But wrestling is kind of a universal language, and trading shirts is a universal language. You'll look at your shirt and you'll be like, ooh, look and grab your shirt and say, exchange. Mm-hmm. And you'll come back with some pretty neat shirts. So.
Yeah, Coach, I had the opportunity to do a cultural exchange wrestling trip, wrestled Greco actually in Turkey, in nice. Istanbul, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. So I get that.
Absolutely.
Kendall Moe, it looks like you got a hand up.
So, what was your favorite part about wrestling at the Air Force Academy, and what was it like wrestling there?
Hi, Kendall. Well, first of all, to get to the Air Force Academy, I'm going to ask you, are you a good student?
I believe so.
You believe so? What kind of grades do you have?
Most of the time they're A's, and every once in a while I get a B.
Okay. Are you thinking about going to the Air Force Academy? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume, but you have long hair. Are you a girl?
Yes.
All right. I like that. And it looks like you have Colorado on your shirt. So what do you know about Colorado?
I used to live there. I lived in Colorado Springs.
Awesome.
I did wrestle at the Air Force Academy once for a tournament, and it looked
Okay.
pretty fun there.
It's
So,
very fun. Well, I'll tell you what, I actually have all three of my sons. One just graduated from the Air Force Academy. One will be a senior at the Air Force Academy, and my senior in high school this year is going to the Air Force Academy in just about 50 days. He'll start in processing. So I would tell you this, I kind of have a secret. It's not really a secret on how you can get there. Keep your grades up. Be involved in things beyond just wrestling, like maybe your student government, um, the choir or the band or a club. Do community service, both in school, outside of school. Maybe you're involved in something at your church. Find some leadership positions to be involved with to make your complete package round. Okay. I always tell my wrestlers, I'd rather you be an A student and an average wrestler than a C student and a superstar wrestler. But guess what? Wrestling is the hardest thing in the world to do. If you can wrestle, you can be an A student and a good wrestler. So keep those grades up and you can get there. Now, to my experience, I enjoyed wrestling at the academy. It was, it was Division I school. It was tough being an intercollegiate athlete there because you have a lot of things that you're doing as a military student, as a cadet. But it was kind of my escape from the marching and the saluting and the yes sir, especially my freshman year. And you were kind of adopted by the upperclassmen. But I think if it's something that I think wrestlers do really well at the academy because we're already used to doing what? Working really hard, right? Doing push-ups, running. I felt like basic training was a wrestling practice, and so that was easy for me. I felt like I was in great shape. I could carry my rifle and run and do all the things that they want you to do and crawl through the mud. We do that on the wrestling mat. We do gut defense. When you slide to the left, it's gut right, gut left, front gut, back gut. That's crawling through the mud at basic training. So that part was easy. So I wish you luck. What grade are you in, Kendall?
I'm in 6th grade.
6th grade. So you've got a little bit of time. Keep those grades up. It's really important once you get to high school to have good grades and lots of activities that you're doing and look for those leadership positions. And I challenge all of you guys as wrestlers to be leaders on and off the mat, in your classroom and out of the classroom. Okay? Let people know, wow, there's something different about that person. They're going to say, wow, they're part of the wrestling team. She's a wrestler. He's a wrestler. We're different. Okay? Good luck to you. Maybe I'll see you in Colorado one day at the Air Force Academy.
I don't want to keep Coach too long, so we'll do a couple more and then we'll let him off here. Toon, you got another one? Go ahead, Anthony.
What's the best thing to practice at home?
Well, Toon, if you don't have a mat at home and you don't have a partner or a dad or mom that's willing to let you toss them around and drill with them, or a brother, I see your brother saying that you use him to drill with, is to work. Guess what, you guys, I tell my kids this, when we leave practice, you can still do things to get better. And I kind of gave you a hint of that with your poster board or your paper. How many push-ups have you done today, Toon?
None.
How many pull-ups have you done today?
None.
Okay, during quarantine, how many push-ups have you done?
About 100 or 200.
We've been quarantined for like a month, buddy. That's like what, 5 a day? You see what I'm saying? So here's the answer to your question, Toon. What can you do to get better when you're at home? I used to challenge myself. You know what I want you to do? First of all, I want you to study. How many, by a show of hands, how many of you guys are in online school or have homework packets that you have to do? Okay. Well, when I'm doing my math homework and I finish that, drop down and do some push-ups. Okay, to take a break. Okay, if you got, how many of you guys have a pull-up bar that you have up on your door when you walk out of your room? You walk there, don't just hang your clothes on it, jump up and do some pull-ups. Okay, so those are things that you can do at home. Guess what? If you have a little bit of space, you can do stance and motion at home. You know, a little 2-minute, 3-minute warm up, stance and motion, stance and motion, stance and motion. Then maybe I knock out some push-ups and sit-ups. Okay, so there's always something that you can do when you're not on the mat to make yourself stronger and strengthen your core. Those are the two big things, and legs. And, you know, anything that you can do. I don't advocate at you guys' age that you're lifting, you know, real heavy weights, but you can do an air squat. You know, if you've got a 5 or 10 or 15-pound dumbbell that you're standing up, you can do a squat. You can strengthen your shoulders. You don't even need a weight. You can stick your arms out. How long can you do that until your shoulders start aching? And go out to the side and you're doing circles. Before you know it, at the end of quarantine, you'll look in the mirror and you'll be like, wow, I've got a little muscle popping up there. Okay, just your body weight is fine for those types of exercises to help make you stronger when you're not in the wrestling room. So get started.
Coach Sean, go ahead.
Coach, I'm going to assume that you were able to coach Kyle Snyder on the Maryland national teams.
You know, my first year was his last year. He ended the year when I started, after I started. So I missed actually being on the mat with him.
Okay. So did you ever get to see him work out or anything like that?
I did not. I did not. He left after that year and headed out to the Olympic Training Center. That was all I'd heard. Well, Kyle was on the team last year and he's out at the Olympic Training Center now. And we all know his story after that. He went, you know, to Ohio State and, you know, Worlds, but he was never on the team when I was on the team.
Okay. Well, let's just go. Any other highly successful individuals that you know, whether they're Russian, whether they're Azerbaijani, right? Is there anything special that makes them just the best, or how do you think they achieve that greatness?
Good question. I think that for, you know, folks that I have seen, folks that I've been around, what makes someone better is the desire to want to be better. Okay. And it's that simple. Do you want to get better? Do you want to be stronger? Okay. I see you there. Do you want to be stronger? Do you want to do those push-ups? Do you want to improve and be better than you were yesterday? Okay. And you have to ask yourself each day when you wake up, what am I going to do today that's going to make me a better wrestler? Am I going to do more push-ups? Is today my recovery day? And every day doesn't have to be something. Maybe I have a recovery day in there. Okay. But what am I going to do tomorrow that makes me a better wrestler? How many push-ups can I do next week that makes me a better wrestler? The Toon Squad there. How many push-ups? You guys could, you got a brother there. You guys can challenge each other, right? Who does the most push-ups in a week? Who does the most pull-ups in a week? So you have an advantage there. Okay. So those are the type of things that you challenge yourself with that says, how can I get better? And I think if you look and you see the guys that are good, I've been in the mat and I've been at camps where Jordan Burroughs was there, where Kyle Dake was there at the Olympic Training Center. When we were there, we actually had a camp there, was at a training camp there. And those guys, they push themselves in practice. You know, they're not horsing around at practice. You know, when your coaches bring you into the practice room, you got an hour and a half, 2 hours of time to get better. That's your classroom. What am I going to do during that hour and a half, that 2 hours to get better? You know, the coach tells you to do 10 shots to the right, 10 shots to the left, and you stop at 9, okay, or you're looking over at the clock, you know, you're going live and you're supposed to be going for 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and you look at the clock, okay, the clock's just about to stop. I'm gonna ease into this last 15 seconds. Or are you pushing it through the end of that clock? You know, you've got to have something inside of you right here that says each day I'm going to do something a little bit better. Each day that I leave from this practice room, I'm the hardest working guy or girl in that room today.
Great.
And I think
Eli,
that's what winners have.
Eli, Brody, I'm going to give you the last question, and then we'll let Coach out of here. Go ahead.
All right. What kind of music did you listen to when you were warming up for a match?
Hi, Eli. Probably not the same thing that you guys listen to. I was old school. I had a mix of some Rocky. I had some gospel songs that were pretty inspirational for me. I believe that there is a higher power that I call God, and I believe that He gives me strength. So I had some really motivational gospel songs that just really got me fired up and said, you know, I know that I've got the power of God in me to give me strength. And then the Rocky series that were, you know, when I grew up, when I was in high school, his movies were pretty exciting. Then I did have some pretty, you know, some hip hop stuff and R&B stuff that was pretty motivational. But I think for you guys, anything that you listen to that you feel like gets you inspired, that makes you want to jump, that gets your heart moving, don't use all of your energy dancing on the sideline, okay, and getting too hyped before you go out there. Just have it enough that says, okay, I'm in a good place. You put that on, you know what it does more than anything else? It drowns out what's going on around you. If you got teammates that want to come up to you and, you know, they're talking about the guy that you have to wrestle and what you have to say, hey guys, leave me alone. I'm in the zone, okay? It closes out the world, Eli. So whatever makes your heart beat a little bit faster, whatever gives you goosebumps, whatever makes your fist clench up and you say, yes, that's my song. I'm ready to go battle now. That's what you listen to, buddy. What do you like to listen to, Eli? Hang on 1 second. You're still muted.
Yeah, you're on mute, buddy.
Eli, what do you listen to? Eli?
Eli, what do you like to listen to?
A bunch of rap just to get me going.
Okay, there you go. Well, good. Tone out the world and focus in on what you have to do. Well, good luck to you and have a great season.
Me too.
Guys, I'm going to let Coach Sean have the last word here, but before I let him get in there, Coach, thank you so much. Guys, it's not an opportunity that everybody gets all the time, and for Coach Brown to take an hour out of his night and spend it with you, giving you great insight on things. Coach, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I appreciate you spending time with all our guys and girls, and thank you very much. So, and I'll let Sean –
Before Sean speaks, I would like to say to you guys, first of all, as a coach has been at this for a while, my hat's off to you both as coaches, because we do this to improve our kids. And for you guys, the young people that are on this call tonight, you're taking your time to get better, whether it's just listening to some folks or maybe it's, planted a seed in your mind that says, I'm never going to give up. Or I'm going to start doing push-ups tonight, or I'm going to start doing pull-ups, or I'm going to start doing sit-ups. I challenge you at the end of this quarantine, get back to practice and show coach those guns that you were working on. Show coach that six-pack that you developed by doing your sit-ups, okay? So I wish you guys the best. Hopefully I'll see you around the mat somewhere. It's always my phrase. I'll see you around the mat somewhere. Coach Sean.
Well, Coach, I just want to say thank you for taking the time. It's I was very fortunate to get to work with you and see you in the room and learn from you, and you're passing on some great wisdom to these kids today, and I can't say thank you enough. So everybody tell Coach Brown thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, guys. As we get off here, we'll have our challenge of the day tomorrow. We'll get that posted. I'll post that on Facebook. We'll post this interview if you want to follow up, re-listen. Coach and I will be with you Thursday for another Zoom call doing our workout together. So make sure you're getting on that stuff, but we'll have a challenge tomorrow. Coach, again, thank you. Everybody wave to Coach, and we'll tell him bye, and we'll see you guys around the mat, as Coach likes to say.
Bye.